It's the year 1920 in the city of Rome. Crowds of people scream and chant the words leader and leader over and over again. Why? Who do they refer to as leader? This leader's name is none other than Benito Mussolini. The reason for this gathering of people is because Benito Mussolini is looking for dictators with absolute power. 4 years after this event took place, the dictator and founder of the Russian Soviet Federate Socialist Republic, Vladimir Lenin, had died, and a new dictator rose. This dictator's name was Joseph Stalin. Stalin wanted to improve the Soviet Union. In order to improve the Soviet Union, he would order lower class individuals to give lots of valuable belongings, like land, animals, and farms, and if they disobeyed or refused to give him these things, he would either execute them or send them to labor camps. Just like in Russia and other countries, dictatorship would rise over time. We skip over to the year 1930, and Benito Mussolini is in the country of Italy, but not just for any reason, but for the reason of conquering the country. However, in order for his plan to work, he made a campaign to distract the Italians from their economic problems that they were facing. He would tell them that he would make Italy great again, and he succeeded after. Later after, Mussolini invaded Ethiopia in the year 1935. During this time, in Germany, a man by the name of Adolf Hitler rose and created the National Socialist Workers' Party, otherwise known as the Nazis. Hitler would use similar strategies like Mussolini by telling Germans that the main reason that they lost in World War I was because of Versailles Treaty signed in 1919. Hitler made Germans believe that there were traitors among them, and he told them that these traitors were the Jews. Hitler would tell Germans that they were superior to the Jews, and that the Jews should be prosecuted. However, not just any type of prosecution, but a special type. Thus, he created concentration camps, and paired with the fact that Hitler was a powerful speaker, he would win over Germany in the belief that the Jews were one of the reasons for their downfall in World War I. Hitler then told Germany that they had the right to expand to the east. Similarly to Italy, Japan was also experiencing economic problems due to the Great Depression, and the Japanese government would use a similar strategy as Hitler and would convince their people that they were better than other Asians. Japanese territory would then expand throughout Asia, and they would take over Manchuria in China. The reason for this place specifically was because Manchuria was rich in coal and iron. China would then call over the League of Nations, however, they didn't do much. As the rise of dictators rose, the United States would try their best to stay out of it. The reason for the United States trying to stay out of foreign conflict was because they were still trying to focus on stabilizing the nation after the effects of the Great Depression. Congress would also warn their citizens to limit their trips or visits to foreign countries because they wanted to stay neutral. Then, in the year 1938, Japan would attack China and start an all-out war. It would start by bombing the biggest cities of China, which would kill over 300,000 civilians. And by the end of the battle, the Japanese would defeat the Chinese army. Then a year later, in 1938, Hitler would further expand his territory, which would violate the Treaty of Versailles. The reason for this violation was because Germany would take over Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia was owned by Britain and France. However, these countries took no action because they wanted to keep the situation as peaceful as possible. Instead, they would meet with the leaders of Britain, France, Italy, and Germany to further discuss. Hitler would then agree that he wouldn't take any more territory from that part, and they would make the Munich Agreement. However, Hitler would then take over Czechoslovakia the following year, forcing Britain and France to finally take action. Then, in August, in the year 1938-9, Hitler would make a pact with Joseph Stalin because the two were rival dictators, and the pact was made so that neither of them would attack each other. Then, in the next month, Hitler would launch a blitzkrieg against Poland, which would involve another war. However, Poland would be unable to handle all of Germany's modern day weapons and would surrender. While this was taking place, Joseph Stalin would take over the eastern side of Poland. This would be the starting point of the Second World War. Germany and Italy would then create the Axis powers, which would include Germany, Italy, Japan, and six other nations to unite. And then Great Britain and France would create the Allied powers, which would include Britain, France, the United States, China, and 46 other countries.